Hey, it is Ryan Seacrest. There's something so thrilling about playing Chumba Casino. Maybe it's the simple reminder that with a little luck, anything is possible. ChumbaCasino.com has hundreds of social casino-style games to choose from with new game releases each week. Play for free anytime, anywhere for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. Join me in the fun. Sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com. Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
This is a More Than Just Podcast production.
Welcome to this podcast, Season 7, Episode 10. My name is Tim Mitchell. I am in Toronto, Ontario, and I'm joined once again by Jonathan Kuline in Mississauga, Ontario.
Hello there, kids.
And we also have Hyman Lupus Jr. on the line, stuffing his face with turkey in Seattle, Washington.
How's it going?
Since is it like a turkey burrito you have? Like, what do you do for Thanksgiving, Jaime?
No, we do here in this household in Seattle area. We do the traditional stuff. So that would be turkey stuffing, mashed potatoes, cranberry sauce, green bean casserole, pumpkin pie. We didn't have rolls this year, like the little bread rolls.
This is like you and your significant other do this thing?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, cool. All right. Cool.
And then you have turkey leftovers for days and days and days?
Yeah.
Yeah, we got one of the, since it's just the two of us that we stayed home with our little dog and everything. We got one of those it's sort of like a meal kit where the Sprouts Farmers Market has made them, and you sort of have to reheat it in the oven. So it works out. It serves like 2 to 3, and that's just about perfect for us to have a meal, a second meal, and maybe like sandwiches the next day.
So it's like a Thanksgiving tikka plate?
Yeah.
Or not tikka. What's the word I'm looking? Is it tikka? No. What's the word I'm looking for? The Indian thing.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean.
Tally.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah. Like a tally. Yeah. I can see that. Mm-hmm.
Cool. All right. Like the Swanson TV dinner turkey style. But, well, it's funny because Carol accidentally was reaching for the masala. In Canada we have all these weird ketchup flavored chips and stuff, right? So she was reaching for the tikka masala chips, and she accidentally brought home the turkey dinner chips.
Oh, I saw those at the store, but I couldn't commit
just
to
walk on by.
Yeah, I couldn't commit to the $4, but it was supposed to taste like turkey and gravy and stuffing or something.
Is that what? Yeah, I don't know. It had a bit of sage hint to it, a little bit of I guess a little bit of gravy and mashed potato kind of vibe going on there. But no. I mean, I finished the bag because you kind of feel obliged to finish it, but. Yeah, it was not, as Jonathan's brother David would say, he'd eat the whole meal and then he'd say, don't make that again. Anyway, all right. Well, moving on to some Star Trek-y kind of things, Spotcast-y kind of things, I guess. We'll start off with some fact check. I was stumbling with the names of the original stars of the TV show Mission Impossible, which I watched as much as I watched Star Trek back in the 70s. So Greg Morse played Barney Collier, or Barney, basically, never really called him by his last name. And Peter Lupus played Willie Armitage. And I don't remember... I didn't get a chance to look up and see if he's related to the Armitage that played young Sheldon, but I never did. Can't remember. Maybe they just called him Peter. I can't remember how they referred to him, but Barney definitely. He was like Barney, And they were the regulars on Mission Impossible TV. But surprisingly, I'd forgotten that Martin Landau I remembered, but Barbara Bain, who was his wife in real life, she was also on the show as the sort of female agent. She played a character named Cinnamon Carter, and she started. Martin Landau and Barbara Bain started in the first iteration, like right from the very first show, right? And Stephen Hill, I think he's the head lawyer on Law and Order. I don't know if you guys watch Law and Order, but he was the original guy who was before Peter Graves, Mr. Phelps, right? And then other stars from the day, Linda Day George, you probably never heard of it. Leslie Ann Warren, you may have heard of.
Oh, I know Leslie Ann Warren, yeah.
Yeah, she was often the spy, hippie, whatever character that they needed for whatever mission. And surprisingly, Sam Elliott, without the mustache, was an original regular for a couple of seasons on that show. So it was kind of a interesting show that, I don't know if Martin Landau met and Barbara Bain met there or whatever, but they of course went on to be the two leads on Space 1999, which is the Sci-Fi Connection, right?
Way to land the plane, buddy. Way to land the plane.
Yes, thank you very much. And I'll be here all week. The first interracial kiss, we were wrong, was not in Who Mourns for Adonis. It was for Plato's Stepchildren, which was season 3, episode 10. And Who Mourns for Adonis was season 2, episode 2. And Adonis, I followed a little thread on IMDb that said Adonis is kind of a pluralization of the Latin word God, so it's Who Mourns for the Gods. That's essentially what the title means. And I mentioned Paul Williams he played one of the orangutans in the Battle for the Planet of the Apes. Which, if you feel the need to skip that movie, feel free. It's not worth it. It's an interesting period piece, I guess, for late 60s, early 70s sci-fi, but which would explain, you maybe watch it and then you'll understand why Star Wars was such a big hit. But Paul Williams' claim to fame, I mentioned he did some music stuff. He wrote We've Only Just Begun, which is a song that put the Carpenters on the map, and did a bunch of other famous songs, which now I'm drawing a blank on, which is great. But yeah, he was quite prolific. He is quite a prolific music writer. I realized that he's actually still alive at 84, I believe. So, and then Jonathan's got some fact checks that Keen shared with us that you're going to give us, right?
Yeah, so we're on our Slack channel where we like to interact with our loyal listeners, and our regular contributor Keen was first. He mentioned that he, on the recommendation of the pod, went out and bought the first issue of the Star Trek Lower Decks comic book and enjoyed that. So that's great to hear that people are branching out. And also, he did a deep dive into our conversation about the Savick appearance in the AI short that we were talking about at the beginning of last week's episode. And we were talking about, I had said that Savick didn't want to come back because Robin Curtis didn't want to be in that role. He's got some really cool stuff here from Memory Alpha and a couple other sources basically outlining the fact that she actually wanted to come back, but it was actually Nick Meyer who didn't want her to come back and didn't actually like her in Star Trek 3 and 4, and didn't really like her to come back for 6. So they actually went back to Kirstie Alley to see if she would reprise her role as Savick for Star Trek 6. And they were going to use her in that, the role that was eventually played by the Canadian actress. What's her name?
Yeah, her. Yeah.
Her,
yeah.
Yes.
I knew it until you said
it. Help us out, Jaime. You always have these.
No, I'm drawing the blank.
The one from Sex and the City, anyways. She apparently, Robin Curtis had basically gone on the record and said, she was interested in doing the part. They offered it to Kirstie Alley.
Kim Cattrall.
There you go. Thank you. And she was Valeris. And she apparently Robin Curtis was basically blocked out. They went to Kirstie Alley. Kirstie Alley said no, because she by that point was already a pretty big star in movies and on TV. And so they decided, okay, we're just going to not have it be the Savick character. We're going to create this new character. Kim Cattrall said she had no interest in being like the third person to play that role, so they just created this whole new character and went from there. There's lots of content out there to sort of talk about this. If you look up Savick on Memory Alpha, we can throw that into the show notes. There's a whole big article where they've got quotes from her and just sort of a lot of the backstory. But really interesting to me. I didn't know that. I had heard that other version of the story years and years ago, but I think that was probably apocryphal. Obviously, it wasn't true. Really good contribution by Keen on the Slack channel.
Interesting that the male producers of these shows always do harm to female actresses,
Well, I gotta be honest. I don't have anything above and beyond to say about Robin Curtis as Savick. She was fine. But do you have a strong feeling about her? Like, oh, she was my set. Like, I don't No. Like, I don't really.
No, to be honest with you, Kirstie Alley to me was always the more convincing Saavik. I don't know, maybe it was just because I was surprised when I didn't like it when they would substitute an actor for a role like that. So they should have given Saavik a different name, maybe, right?
And I get that you want to continue the character, like it's nice that they added characters to the cast because they introduced new characters in Star Trek: The Motion Picture, but then didn't carry any of them forward.
Yeah.
And so
but Valeris is one of my favorite characters. So
yeah, it was nice that they tried to have like other characters. Like that would have been if it had been like one character, if it had been one actor playing that role in Star Trek 2, 3, and 4, and then theoretically in 6, that would have been nice to have as a through line, although I do kind of concur that it would have been weird to have her take that turn too in 6, where it's like she becomes radicalized, right?
Yeah, no, it made more sense to have somebody, who nobody suspected, right?
Yeah.
Especially when she talks about sabotage.
Sabotage,
yes.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Oh, good. All right. Well, let's move on to the headlines. It's going to be a long series of headlines here today, folks. I really apologize, but we'll throw over to Jaime for the first headline.
Yeah, this is one that the Verge title kind of has a lot that we'll unpack here. Walmart made a whole Christmas movie just to sell you stuff. And if that sounds ridiculous, you have to realize that normally you end up with like the Hallmark Channel and Lifetime Movie Network. Like they just constantly battle for this supremacy of just filling an entire month between here we are now in, as we record this, it's Thanksgiving Day in America. So you have an entire month now because now you just go full on into Christmas season and you want to get people all the way till December 25th, Christmas Day, with just as many Christmas themed movies as you can. And there's a whole industry that just cranks these out. I mean, you're talking, I assume there must be close to like 60 of these that are probably produced in a short time period. And then you can just start doing marathons. And this one here is called Jingle Bell Love. And the plot isn't that really important because, hey, let me just I'll just save you the effort of watching the trailer, right? And I'm getting somewhere here. So there's a widowed father, he's got a youngish daughter. She's probably like a tween of some sort. And he's in this town. It's this small, apple pie kind of part of America town where there's this single woman, roughly his age, who's a small business owner. And oh no, she's having business problems and the bank is going to foreclose. I think you can guess exactly all the plot threads that are going to happen here. Right? That's not the point. The point here, though, is that, and the reason we're bringing it up here, is that if you're using the Roku channel, and Roku has a thing called Roku Pay, just like we know folks have Google Pay, Apple Pay, everybody's got their own pay. Apparently, it was too hard for people to buy the products that they saw that were prominently, displayed as ad placement inside of the thing. And don't worry, because now between Roku and Walmart's little channel here, they'll make it really easy with the device information you've already got saved. Your Roku Pay, probably use like your credit card or something. Like you can be like, oh look, that dude has got this this puffy jacket from Uniqlo or something. I'm going to buy that. One click, probably on the pause menu, I would guess. So it's streaming already for free. It's been streaming for 10 days. This article is a little bit behind the times. I have not seen this yet. Maybe I'll throw it in the background while, doing laundry or something, or just dozing off and waiting for the tryptophan to wear out. It's bananas, but kind of makes a lot of sense. And it feels really bizarre that we've gone this far. This year, here we are in the year 2024. We just barely realize, hey, what if we would just click a button to buy when they're watching this love story happen?
Yeah, it's interesting you say that because I saw something on Paramount. Let me just go back there for a sec because I obviously watched Paramount today, but they have it's Welcome to Christmas. It's not this one, right?
No, this is Jingle Bell Love.
Okay, yeah, because it was a front and center in the headline banner at the top of the Paramount app today was Welcome to Christmas, which sounded very much like any one of these things. In fact, I think don't we have a channel here in Toronto, in Canada, or Toronto anyway, that shows Christmas 365 days a year, Jonathan?
I don't know about that. I know that there's a local radio station that does like 6 straight weeks of nonstop Christmas tunes, which is delightful if you're into that. They used to play it at every bad retail job I had when I was a young man.
No, I'm pretty sure I've watched Christmas, like I flipped by Christmas, people wearing winter coats in the middle of July when it's super hot and they're buying Christmas presents and stuff. And
well, they went ballistic on Crave recently, which is our sort of amalgam of Max and some Canadian content and a few other things. And they must have put like 60 terrible looking sort of B-level, she's an uptight lawyer from New York. He's a relaxed guy who lives in a small town. She has to go back to the small town for the weekend. And then she falls in love with him. It's Christmas time and they're at the farm. Like, every one of those movies looks dreadful.
Yeah. Yeah. And tinsel will bring them together.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, cool. Well, I was joking about the depth of our headlines today. In fact, because, when this last headline started, we had nothing. But
It's Thanksgiving week. It's Thanksgiving week. America has closed.
You got to get back to your football. Right? So, but speaking of football, I have a Vision Pro or Vision OS newsletter that I run, which basically for people who are interested in developing for Vision Pro. But I happened to add a headline today that I thought might fit right in here, at least with the after show. But we'll bring our after show forward a little bit here today. And speaking of football, Apple apparently is in talks to retrofit a stadium to show live sports ball on the Vision Pro. Story is from 9 to 5 Mac that the stadium that is being retrofitted right now in Real Madrid, or for the sports ball team Real Madrid. I take that they're a football team, right? Soccer team, as they call it in the States.
Correct.
Their Santiago Bernabeu Stadium is in the midst of a costly transformation, and they're running out of capacity, I guess, in terms of seating, right? And so the solution might be to have live immersive streams on the Vision Pro, which means that, the 400,000 of us that bought the device will be able to enjoy the, probably for a small nominal fee, the feet ball, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's kind of an interesting story.
I saw a little example when the 3D TV thing started taking off a little bit. There was some of the games, I think, for the World Cup in the early 2000s was being shown in 3D if you have one of these TVs. And I always thought, like, for some sports, that would be a really neat effect. I'm not sure it would work for every sport, but I would be really curious to know what that experience is like. I mean, we talked about it, Tim, that this could be a revolutionary thing where they could charge you a premium price to be like, somebody is sitting in the front row with courtside or something like that. Yeah. Like these are literally like the best seats in the house, and you get that perspective of like, if you were sitting here, it would be $10,000, but you can just stream it through your headset. I think it could be really cool. I would totally love to check out just to see how different sports translate in that way, because if it is that immersive, and obviously, Tim, you've been kind enough to share your Vision Pro with me a few times, some of those experiences are fantastic. If the quality is high, it could be a really neat way to enjoy those kinds of activities.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. Like they've got, they went into they did a little short 5-minute film of the last Super Bowl, which they released like months after the fact, which is kind of like, what? And they've shown parts of the NBA basketball game, the All-Star basketball game as well. It came out like weeks after the event, which, it's kind of the problem, right? That they do these things, but they're amazing, but they're like, unless it's like, there's one that came out last week where it's a singer and you're like right in her face as she's singing to you kind of thing. I would argue whether the best seats in the house is courtside, because, I mean, if you're Drake or Jack Nicholson, being seen courtside is a thing, but having watched even Vision Pro stuff shot from the side of the court, I don't think you really get a great view of the game. you get to, it's interesting because in one of the ones they throw the ball at the camera, so it's kind of like getting the ball thrown in your face kind of thing, right? And there's one scene in the Super Bowl game where you're in the dressing room with the team as they're getting sprayed with champagne and stuff, but there's a guy standing with his shoulder halfway across your left eye, and you're like, can you move over just to, just push that guy at it, just kick him in the shin or something, But so and like the singer thing I watched the other day, I don't know I forget who she is, but you're too close. I mean, in some cases, like her head's like this big 12-foot, 12-inch, 18-inch thing in front of you as she's singing to you directly. I mean, I get it. You want to be in the room up close and personal, but you don't want to be like the size of a gnat on her cheek.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's work to be done. I mean, and I think you've seen like the I think in the clip that they show you, if you go to the Apple Store demo, you're behind the net in a soccer game as this amazing kick goes across under the crossbar and crosses the net from left to right as the goaltender struggles to get bigger, as Hummy would say. You need a bigger guy in there, right? But yeah, it's interesting. And to be honest with you, I think going after European soccer or football is an amazing choice, because you think about I think it's probably one of the biggest games in the world, if I'm not mistaken.
It's the biggest game in the world. This is the biggest game in the world
in terms of audience, right?
In terms of worldwide impact and worldwide audience, yes.
Yeah. So it's a brilliant move if it does come to pass, right?
Yeah. Although it depends on where you want to make market penetration. I mean, obviously, there's a huge global audience for soccer, but whether there's money to buy a Vision Pro is a question. Obviously, different markets, different value, but
this is the first iteration of Vision Pro. I mean, like, this isn't your iPhone 4 version of the iPhone, right?
Yeah, no, I think from a pure money making opportunity, I think the NFL is just such a juggernaut when it comes to North American pro sports, the kind of revenue that they can deal out. I just wonder whether that would be particularly good in that, because the field is so big, because it is so hard to isolate, because it's very quick moving in certain ways. I don't know how well that would translate. Well, I'd be curious to see that.
Yeah. Cool. Well, you know what? That brings us to the main part of the show, where we're going to talk about something Star Trek related. And thankfully, this week we've got Lower Decks, Star Trek Lower Decks, Season 5, Episode 7. There's only 3 more shows to go. Fully Dilated, which is like a very strange title, but we'll leave it at that, right? So why was it called Fully Dilated?
The time dilation for the
time dilation. Okay, because when you say fully dilated to me, it means something completely different.
I think it's little typical double entendre there, probably.
Yeah, I guess, right? I guess. Cool. Oh, caps lock key. I'm typing as I speak. Anyway, carry on. Elevator pitches. Which guy?
Yeah, I had get your finest old timey clothes on. It's a pre-warp civilization, which when you think about it, like on the live action shows, that's arguably a way to save money, right? Like, you don't have to do a lot of fancy pants things. It's basically medieval with a slightly different kind of looking castle. But in animation, there's like no savings. It costs just as much to make their regular stuff. In fact, it probably costs more because they're not in their normal uniforms. They can't just reuse some of the animation stuff.
Yeah,
true. Yeah, good point.
My elevator pitch I had: sometimes all you need to solve a problem is the right data.
Right, data. That's interesting. Yeah, mine's related to that. It seems like a missed opportunity when purple is an option.
yeah, it's true.
All right.
This was again like trope central, as they tend to do. But man, like, we'll talk about it when we get to the Easter egg hunt. But like, this was just a cornucopia of Star Trek tropes. The whole idea of time dilation and being stuck on the planet, and the cuts back and forth between T'Lyn and Tendi and Mariner on the planet, where every second they're off the ship, it's what do they say? Every second is a month, or every second is a day or something. And then on top of that, we've got Boimler and Rutherford licking the control panel clean. trying to get everything fixed. That was very, very funny.
They were drinking mojitos. What were they drinking?
Oh no, they mentioned it. It's called Micheladas. Micheladas. I don't know if they're
And
named
it came
after...
out of the tablet, right? Came from the tablet.
They did. They came out of the Alt Boimler's tablet. I don't know if are they named after Michael Burnham. I don't know. They're spelled Micheladas.
Okay, maybe, yeah.
Yeah, big fancy drinks with lots of skewers in them, and yeah. Oh god, the scene where they tried to first Boimler takes off his uniform and starts wiping it, and then they end up licking it and it starts going off was tremendous.
Yeah. And it's funny because, like, a month, you'd go back and it'd be like 4 months later on the surface, and yet, Boimler and Rutherford are still looking at the spill, like, because it's been like 30 seconds, right?
Yeah.
So, interesting.
No, it was really funny. And that's what I had for my pew pew pew. It wasn't a traditional pew pew pew, but the two of them frantically trying to clean the transporter pad was some tremendous alt pew 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 of, how do we battle this mess we've made for ourselves? I could not stop laughing at the two of them with their sad beards trying to lick the counter clean. Yeah.
Well, for me, like
fingers. Yeah.
For me, like, I don't really, I prefer not to focus on the pew pew pew, but I was like, Tillin making a windmill to power and make grain, and then Tendi using that to generate electricity so she can keep Data's head alive and charge his batteries. And then, all the sort of technology these two women come up with that, of course, nobody's going to notice, right? Because that they've done this stuff on this. It's the whole Prime Directive thing where you're not supposed to spoil the planet. And that's just why they had to go in and remove all the technology from the... Well, we did talk about the fact that the purple... We had the Fisher again, right?
Yeah.
And apparently the Purple Enterprise came through.
The Purple Enterprise D.
Enterprise D, yeah. And they crash a shuttle, and that's when they find Data's head buried in... Again, Data's head buried in the sand is another Easter egg, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Time zero.
So, and then when he explains about how did you solve it last time? Well, I just, waited around for
400 years. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, what'd you have for your pew pew?
Non-traditional stuff, true. So I went with the closest literal interpretation is when they had to torpedo Data's head into the rift.
Yeah. I thought that too. I'm like, that is a fun ride. Here, get inside the torpedo tube. We're going to fire you at this portal in space.
Well, that's usually how they dispatch dead bodies too, right? Like, including Spock and Scotty, I think, right? Doesn't Scotty die at one point?
I think it's Scotty's buddy, isn't it? And isn't it I can't remember.
Yeah, that's where we have fact check.
There you go. Easter eggs, boy, man, wow. So the very beginning of the episode, they mentioned the Tasha Yars. They were fighting an army of Tasha Yars.
Or something.
Says,
yeah.
Then it was just up and down. They mentioned Voyager, the episode from season 6, Blink of an Eye, which very much what this was sort of modeled after, the time dilation and time traveling just differently for whether you're on the planet or in the ship. That's the one where whole generations go by and they just see this ship looming in the sky, and they call them the Sky Gods, and that was a great one. They mentioned TNG.
That's not the one with the flute. The flute was the
no, that's a different one.
Yeah, I think his brain gets pulled into this satellite that they find, right? Or whatever.
Yep.
Yeah.
They mentioned the TNG, the Times Arrow episodes, so the ones where they find Data's head. They mentioned that one where Picard's
the flute, the soap flute.
Yep. And then they mentioned Carbon Creek from Enterprise. That's the one where T'Pol's ancestor, I think it is, has to go back in time because they crash land in Pennsylvania. And they mentioned the Ito episode of the TNG from the first season. That's the one where Wesley is supposed to be executed for committing the horrible infraction of crushing some flowers.
For when she horns the guy in the eye,
so this one would they basically hit on like a bunch of classic moments in Trek history, particularly ones that involve timey-wimey stuff, which is interesting. And again, we can circle back to that one, and the big question is how we are landing this plane with 3 episodes to go. Did you guys catch anything else that jumped out at you?
Well, we mentioned Data's head, right?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, it was the sort of tropey things, I guess, is a bit of a, like, because Spock would always sort of like, get an old radio and build a transporter. Oh, that's what it was. Tendy was trying to build a transporter, right? To solve her own problem.
The one that I wasn't quite sure, but at the moment felt like it was Rutherford's beard, and given that he's an engineer, felt like it was a callback to Geordi, because they chose a very specific kind of beard. They could have given him a Mirror Universe kind of goatee. They could have given him like a huge lumberjack beard. They could have done a number of things, but it looked very intentional to be Geordi's very smooth, even beard.
Have you ever seen there is actually a blooper clip out there of LeVar Burton and Brent Spiner as Data and Geordi, and they are in engineering, and at one point Data says, your face, didn't you have a beard? And he's like, yeah, it was just something I was trying. Producers didn't like it. And and he like looks at the camera when he says it with the visor on, and it's super funny. It's only like a little 10-second clip, but I've seen it traveling around social media, and it always makes me laugh of, just those moments of like breaking the fourth wall into like, yeah, like I was going to grow a beard, but I wasn't allowed to grow a beard.
Right.
This was a quotes bonanza. There was so many great quotes. It sucks that we missed the Purple Enterprise. I wonder if the carpets matched the hull.
Yeah, I got that one.
From Mariner. I mean, you were talking about innuendo there, Tim. I think that was a pretty good one. Also from Ransom in the same exchange. Looks like our friends on the Purple D left us a little present. The Purple D. Jeez. That sounds like not so coded language. Ta'ana, I'm a doctor, not whatever the blank this is. That is like the most wonderful Ta'ana version of that line.
Well, like during the 70s, damn it, Jim, I'm a doctor. That was like original, like before we had memes. That was a meme.
Yeah, that was a living meme. Yeah.
Yeah. It was like holy, what is it? Holy cow, Batman, or holy car wash,
holy
Batman.
Rusted metal, Batman. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey everybody, miss any good rats while I was gone? From Mariner.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I forget where it was, but they were talking to Data, and he goes, "Wow, you really are fully functional."
Oh, I got that one in here too. It's from Tendi. Wow, you really are fully functional. Yeah. Again, speaking of innuendo.
Actually are. Yeah.
My favorite one though was Data, where he says, "I failed to see how adding bounce to curls could alter the course of civilization."
Yeah.
And he's talking about the hair care products that Lynn invented, and they're like, "That must be some violation of the Prime Directive. I failed to see how adding bounce to curls could alter the course of civilization."
Yeah, and my elevator picture is right from the end of the episode where he's talking to the captain.
Yeah.
And he says, "What color's your Enterprise?" And she says, "Gray." And he goes, "That seems like a missed opportunity when purple is an option."
Yeah. This just had some great lines, and like big win, like Brent Spiner. That's amazing. Like they actually had Brent come and play in the sandbox. That's so cool.
Considering he's said many times he doesn't want to do Data anymore, right?
True, but then he obviously embraced it with the Picard series, and and really nice that on top of that especially for something like this where he doesn't have to get in the makeup, he doesn't have to do the whole nine, he can just sit in a chair and say his lines, like, so great. Yeah. Jaime, did you have any other quotes you liked?
A few. So when Boimler and Rutherford are like panicking trying to clean the console, Boimler says, stop talking months and help me wipe," like just in panic. That Tendi to Lynn saying like, "I'm fine, go enjoy your science fruits," in the sort of snarmy way she says it. And then the sort of favorite one of mine was Snell, the antagonist in this episode, the guy who's like fully convinced something's weird about them, says, "Yeah, it looks like old Snell's creepy lurking finally paid off."
Yeah, it's so, and again, such a great trope, right? Like that is so many episodes of Star Trek, let alone sci-fi, of one person in town doesn't, what's that line, Tim, and you and I used to always say, it's like, "Oh, you don't sound like you're from Rateg." Like it's just that moment when Data and Picard are undercover as Romulans. "Oh, I don't think you're actually from that place because you don't sound like that place." Like the unnecessarily suspicious person is such a great one.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, this
I mean,
was
that
fun.
harkens back to Landru. Remember Landru?
Oh yes.
Yes, Landru. Yeah.
Yeah.
They always had those kind of things on the original series.
Yeah. Well, save money.
Mhm.
So big questions. We're now down to 3 episodes. We once again had a yet another dimensional fissure.
And they're getting good at closing them. That's what they made a comment about that, right?
They are, and they've been really a fun element this season. Obviously, where they've had some fun with it. I wonder if this is culminating, and if it is culminating in some fun way, we're going to see something where we get more cameos or more more something.
Maybe a live action Cerritos will come through.
Oh, wouldn't that be amazing? Wouldn't that be amazing? I don't know. I feel bad for Noelle Wells, who'd have to put on a lot of green makeup if she was.
Or Rutherford, he'd have to put on platform shoes, right?
Yeah, I mean, Eugene Cordero does not look exactly like Rutherford. I mean, they kind of picked the 2 best matches for the crossover with Strange New Worlds. I don't know that that would work well, but it'd be a hell of a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But also, I was thinking about it, as we started winding this one down, and obviously, yes, it would be. I want a satisfying conclusion to this series because I adore it so much. But also, I want it to go out on a high note. I want it to go out with laughter. I want it to go out with silliness, with love for what it does. And I know Mike McMahon and his writing team and all the performers are going to do that. So, I don't know. I hope they don't let us down, but I sincerely doubt they do. I honestly can't think of a bad episode of the show. So I'm not panicked about how they land this as much as I'm like hopeful.
Well, this is definitely a show that will go into syndication, and if I was still channel hopping, which I'm not anymore, but if I was, I would definitely stop by and watch these if they were on, right?
Yeah. I mean,
sort of thing.
It's so much a rewatchable show. You can literally just pick one up and just sit and watch it and laugh.
Mm-hmm.
You can watch a few scenes. It's just that kind of show.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I mean, that's generally the whole spin. I mean, like, even with the original series, like, I'll stop and watch an episode if it's on, especially if I recognize it, right? So, but it's funny, I haven't watched Next Generation enough. I was watching the other day when, the episode where the first time they come across Klingons and Worf is on the bridge and his ears pick up, right?
It's a long story.
I want to go play with the Klingons, right? But there's a scene where Geordi and Data and Riker are walking through this maze, which is the same corridor over and over again.
Yeah.
And they're stepping over things that are falling on. But Riker's completely clean shaven. And he looks so wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, but of course, there's also I don't know how often Geordi did this in the show, but, looking at the wall, he can see a fissure starting in the metal, just by looking at it with his visor. I don't know how often did they use his visor as a special sort of scanning mechanism.
It feels like they did it more early. I gotta admit, it's been a while since I've done a rewatch, so I can't really speak to how well they spaced it. Jaime, do you really have a recollection of that?
No, not an idea.
Like, I know they did it. Obviously, it came up in Generations, right? Because that's how they hacked his visor so they could see what was going on inside of the Enterprise and
to get the codes, to get the password. Right? Yeah. By the way, my sisters literally had that hairband.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So awesome. Right from the get-go, I didn't believe that show.
Yeah.
Now, a word from our sponsor.
An O'Reilly Auto Parts gift card is the perfect gift for that hard-to-buy-for person. Give the gift of convenience from O'Reilly Auto Parts.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Now, back to the show.
All right. Should we move on to some prophecy?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So Dune Prophecy. So, Jaime, what did you think of the first episode of Prophecy or Dune Prophecy? And okay, well, what do you think about these first 2 episodes, I guess, together?
Well, I think it's one of those ones where I was telling my significant other that I really don't like when shows drop 2 episodes or more on the first night, unless they're going to drop all episodes. Like, so I'm just going to put Netflix off to the side. They don't really count for this criticism. I feel like one of 2 things tends to happen when people do that. They either can't use a calendar somehow. And they're like, oh no, our episode is going to end on the day of the Super Bowl or some other big event. And they just try to like compress the time instead of just starting a week earlier. Or it feels like the first 1 or 2 episodes is a little weak, so they have to make sure that you'll actually come back next week by, making sure you have something to sort of give you a taste of what you're going to want to see. And I don't know if that's the case here, given that they only have 6 episodes. You don't really have as much to play with there. They needed to do one of 2 things. I think they either needed to dump 2 episodes at the same time, so that you can sort of patch over some rough edges in the first episode, or rethink how the first episode works. Because my significant other was like really intensely lost, and I was like, we got to go back. You got to go back and pay attention real close to the huge history and plot dump that they do at the beginning. Because she's like, well, who's that dude? I was like, oh, that's like the emperor. Like, I know he doesn't look like an emperor. He looks like he's an admiral or a governor, perhaps. Like, he's not obviously an emperor.
It's the Mark Strong problem. We'll call that from now on. Yeah.
If they had him on the Iron Throne kind of thing that they do at some point, if they'd started there, maybe it would be more obvious.
They call it the Golden Lion Throne too, because that's what the emperor sits. But like, it looks like a chair.
Yeah. And well, I mean, but Christopher Walken is much more successful as the emperor, because mind you, the Skarsgård character, he was kind of sort of calling the shots. I'm talking about the movie now, right?
Yeah.
He seemed to be the big bad guy in the first movie, right?
Yeah,
and his son becomes the big bad in the second movie. But the emperor was kind of way off, like out of the picture. So to have the emperor be a central character in the first episode was weird, in my opinion. Yeah, he's not very regal, right?
I mean, I think Mark Strong is a terrific actor, but I don't think he's got a lot to work with here. Like,
yeah. So I think it's perfectly fine, but it needs a bit of a restructure, because the other thing that was confusing my significant other, and it took me a while to realize who exactly is who, is you start with some history stuff of like, hey, like, there was the AI robots war, and this was like a big deal, and the Atreides became like heroes, and my father, the Harkonnens, or my ancestor, I should say, were viewed as cowards for reasons that are not really explicitly displayed or shown. So they try to set up why the Valia, the main character, is part of that sisterhood, and they show her young, and then it's like, hey, here she is, completely skipping over the training, etc. That's a really rough one to do. And say like that person that you see for like 15 minutes, that's this other person that you're going to see most of the other time. I think they could have restructured some of these things to be flashbacks or something.
And also the first time she uses the voice, if you're not familiar with the whole, sisterhood, you wouldn't know the purpose of the voice, because they played that well in the first movie with Rebecca Ferguson and Timothy Chalamet, because she's training him over lunch, right? To use the voice, which I thought it was their, no, I guess it's her race that has that capability, right? But it sounds like I thought it was a sisterhood sort of witches magic thing, right?
Yeah, it is. It is the sisters who learn and
master it,
master that ability and then pass it down.
Yeah, and the finger communication that they do.
Yeah,
right. That's not really, I mean, I guess it's kind of like I don't know if you ever watched the movie The Sting, where they all rub their nose, they lick their nose to let them know that they're in on the joke kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, there's always those kinds of things, right?
Yeah. Sorry, Jaime, carry on.
No, I mean, it's something I find enjoyable, but I think it's got some missteps in there that it's a little too dependent on you being really heavily invested in the Dune material. So I've not read the books, neither is my significant other, so we're going off the movies. And I'll say one thing that she mentioned that I agree with is like, oh, they really nailed the visual design. I'm like, yeah, they definitely spent good money to ensure that when you look at an image, you know it's Dune, right? Like it's not generic sci-fi. It's like, no, that's very clearly the Dune art style.
But they could have spent a little extra money on actually making us care about these characters. I got to be honest. I don't know if you listened. I think you said you listened to last week's episode, Jaime, but I was a little lukewarm on the first one, and I was even more lukewarm on the second one. Like it is the epitome of style over substance. Like I just don't. It's all over the place. There's too many characters. They don't take enough time for you to care about any of them. Most of them, if not all of them, are unlikable. I really struggled with this. Like I'm interested in this world, but I really don't think they're doing a good job of selling it.
Well, I can tell you this in the second episode when they just dismiss the what do they call the head lady? The it's a nun term.
The Mother Superior.
Mother Superior, yeah. The way they're supposed to like be in fear of her. Like she's supposed to have this whole persona, whole ego, and they're very dismissive of her. She's like the cleaning lady in the second episode. The way they kind of send her away, like the fact that she shows up people should be quaking in their boots, and they kind of sort of are when she walks into the Emperor, and he's like, "Oh my God, nobody told me you were coming," right? Mm-hmm. This is the Emperor talking, right? Yeah. He's the leader of the entire universe, right?
Yeah.
And he's supposed to be. I mean, I get that he's supposed to be quaking in his boots when she shows up, but by the end of the episode, they're like, "Yeah, just take your mop and your bucket and go home," right?
Yeah, I gotta say though, Jaime, I agree with your perspective of like they really don't. They kind of assume that if you're watching this, you've watched the two Dune movies. They do not give you anything to really set you up and succeed in this as an enjoyment if you haven't. Because there's so much stuff that is just, why can they do that? Where does that come from? Who's that? Why is everybody freaked out about that? Like it's just so poorly put together. And I get it. Obviously, if you can avoid unnecessary plot exposition, sure, you want to do that. It's the reason why we stopped getting origin stories for Batman and Superman and Spider-Man and all these characters, because just there's no point anymore. But I'm not sure Dune is those things.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Like if you put this up against, the House of the Dragon, or even like, God forbid, you put it up against what's the Game of Thrones, right?
Oh, no way.
It's not even in the same league, really, right?
Well, because they actually spent time
on every character.
You can argue that they spent too much time developing the characters early and not enough time developing them late. But one of the reasons why people loved it is because they just kept introducing great characters and really making you invest in them, so that when they were put into jeopardy, you were like, oh no. Also, they were pretty merciless in killing people, so that you were like, I'm genuinely afraid for all of my favorite characters all the time. Here, I don't have a favorite character. I could give a crap about all of these people. I have no investment in it whatsoever. I don't care what happens to Valia. I don't care what happens to her sister. I don't other than my undying love for Olivia Williams, I could care less. Like it's just, it's not great television. And I feel a little bit guilty about that, because it again, to Jaime's point, I think it looks fantastic. It really, considering this is not Denis Villeneuve and it's not Denis Villeneuve's budget by a factor of 1,000, I feel like it still looks very of that world. Although I've seen a few people point out online, they're like, so nothing changes aesthetically over 1,000 years or 10,000 years?
10,000 years,
like, come on, like nothing changes. Everything looks the same. That's kind of absurd. Like all houses are still there. Like, okay, sure. But aesthetically, it looks great. I mean, it's a very... The Villeneuve vision of it is a little bit more subdued. Obviously, they're not, there are certainly some pieces, like the Rebecca Ferguson character in the movies is, the costumes and stuff are better. Some of it's better, but a lot of it's pretty sort of staid. As you mentioned, the costume for the Emperor, maybe a little too understated. I don't think he needs to wear like a clown costume like, Kaiser Wilhelm of Prussia or something, but I think they could make him look a little more like an emperor. But
he looks like the way they dressed Mark Strong is the way they dressed those people at that level in the movie from the 90s.
100, well, for the 80s, 100%. I agree with you completely. Yes. Yeah, just very much like just uniform kind of piece. But again, he's the emperor. He doesn't need to wear a uniform.
David Lynch?
David Lynch, you're absolutely right. Yeah. I don't know. Like I say, it looks great. I just keep kind of waiting for something, but all I'm getting is like, wow, why do they keep cutting from character to character to character to character? And why don't I feel anything? And the only thing that resonated for me, and I think we talked about it last week, is I really enjoyed Jesse Barden's portrayal of young Valia. I thought she was terrific, and I agree with you, Jaime. I think if we could see more of her, I'd be way more into this. And again, I don't know. I don't know if there's just not enough to work with there. Like, I think these are good actors. I just don't think there's a lot of there.
What I want to know, though, the big question for me is Travis Fimmel, right? Mm-hmm. When he's in prison, where does he pee and poop?
Just let it go to the bottom.
Way down below him.
It just floats away? What?
Well, he's in stasis. Maybe he doesn't.
Yeah, maybe he doesn't have to. Yeah, that's true. But I mean, like, that was so obvious that somebody would kind of go, well, he's a weapon, let's use him, right? Sort of like, that could have written itself, right?
Well, and it's weird too, because I guess if you've seen the two Dune movies, you know about the power of the voice and what it can do. But to have the first use of the voice in this series be in the first episode, where young Valia tells the acolyte, the daughter of the Mother Superior, to kill herself, and she does, is a very dramatic moment. And I was like, oh, that's actually pretty good. And there hasn't been anything like that. And then to have it only be one episode later, when the payoff is she tries to do the same thing to Desmond and it doesn't work. Yeah. It felt A, rushed, and B, like, you've established that this is sort of like an amazing power that is so unique, and then you've immediately come up with a counter to it.
Play. Yeah.
In not even two full episodes. Like, it just didn't.
Well, where are the people who can burst you into flames? Where are they in the current Dune movies, right?
Yeah. And again, maybe this will play out, and maybe this sort of convoluted knot that they've started tying through these first two episodes.
Like, he learned this from a worm.
Will play out. Yeah, maybe it'll play out well over the next 4 episodes as we land this. Although, as you and I talked about last week, 6 episodes, and all things being equal, less than 6 hours, not a lot of time. It's barely more than the 2 movies we got. Thank you, Denis Villeneuve.
Yeah.
After watching these 2 sort of in one sort of swoop, are you compelled? Like, do you want to know what's happening? Like, are you engaged?
Yeah, I think it's enjoyable, but like passively so. Like, I would not call these compelling. It's not like House of the Dragon type stuff. But it's,
where does it fit on the Paw Patrol scale?
So Paw Patrol is one, for folks who don't know, that makes real good. I'm doing laundry, washing dishes, or doing whatever sorts of chores you might have. This one I would pay more attention to, but part of that is a little bit of a cheat. I think it's not because you're necessarily wanting to spend the attention. Sometimes, like, wait, I have to really pay attention because they're definitely going to mention some random thing that will be important to understand later plot, right? Like the AI robot thing is like, oh, that's why people freak out when they see the little lizard, little robotic lizard, right? Like that literally doesn't make any sense at all unless you had the plot dump before.
Yeah. It just didn't, like, having that be the sort of cameo, that data dump from the beginning of the first episode, just doesn't feel like enough to carry that through of, oh my God, this thing's a danger. Oh my God, maybe it killed this kid. Like, it just, I don't know. It didn't feel like they set it up as a major threat. When you see these like giant robots, and then you see like a robot, tiny little robot, you're like, not like, oh my God, it's going to kill them all.
Yeah.
Well, I'm hopeful. Again, HBO generally doesn't make a lot of bad products, but I would really like to see some investment, some time actually developing the characters. I think you're right. I think a few flashbacks to make us care more about Tula and Valia and the Order might help. I think, they took us away from Arrakis, which is always a challenge because that's kind of the whole crux of the first Dune book, right? Like, it's not really about what's happening on the planets, it's about what's happening there. So that's already a bit of a challenge. I'm hopeful, but not really knocked my socks off so far.
Well, let's talk about one show that isn't knocking your socks off, and that's Silo.
I love Silo. It's so good. And I love Rebecca Ferguson, so there's your tie into Dune.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that they dropped in sort of a weird day because I unfortunately have not caught up to the most recent episode this week, the one that came out on supposed Wednesday, but for small numbers of Wednesday called Tuesday.
Yes. Well, we'll keep that part a little bit light on the spoiler front, and just say so. The second episode, which we haven't talked about, we can all sort of weigh in on that. So the first episode was really focused on Juliet in Silo 17, sort of, oh my God, how am I going to live? Oh my God, I'm alive. Oh my God, there's somebody here with me. And that was really sort of the crux of the first one. The second one loops back to meanwhile back at the Hall of Justice. So, then we get to see like what's happening in the wake of Juliet walking over the hill. And that was actually kind of a cool thing, because you are so invested in Juliet as a character, and again, credit to not only Rebecca Ferguson but great writing and the way that they're filming it. You really are like, oh my God, she's alone. Oh my God, she's isolated. And then you circle back in the beginning of the second episode. My wife said to me, I kind of forgot that there was all these other people that were left behind, and all this stuff happens, and you kind of have this, oh, where's this person? So we kind of check in what's going on in Mechanical, what's going on up in, the mayor's office, what's going on behind the scenes with, Judicial. And, that was actually kind of a nice way to do it.
Yeah, the current sheriff and stuff, yeah.
Yeah. So then, we sort of catch up with everybody, and it's kind of gone, it's got a little pear-shaped inside Silo 18, right? Everybody's kind of finding their angle, and some people are gearing up for revolution, and some people are gearing up for war, and some people are like trying to cool tempers and
manage the situation. Yeah
But I think it's really interesting too, because again, Rebecca Ferguson is a very charismatic performer, and she certainly was the centerpiece of the first season. She's not in the second episode at all. It really does focus on all these supporting characters. It focuses on all these different people, and it's like you realize, like, actually, this is they've done a good job of making you invest in other people. Maybe I should send some notes over to the folks at the Dune series, but like, I care what's happening down in Mechanical because we've had some time to get to know, Knox and, Walker and, all these other characters down deep, so that when, this is all sort of happening and, bad things are starting to happen to them, you actually care what goes on. And you even have, a certain level of, caring for Billings, the new sheriff. You want to know what's happening. We already know that, Bernard is a tool, but then you're starting to get into the, like, why he did what he did, what he's trying to do, what the order says, all this stuff, what the pact says. As motivation, you're like, oh, it's kind of interesting. So like, I think it was an interesting place to go next after that sort of isolation of Juliet to this, like, there's still a whole world there and under the ground that is going on without her.
Yeah, and then there's the importance of cleaning and not cleaning, which is, when you go outside and there's repercussions, and that's kind of what happens to Silo 17 too, because they do show a bit of Silo 17, the revolt there at the beginning of the first episode. Right. I think that's the cold open, right?
That's a pretty epic scene where you see like what a revolution inside of a silo could be like.
Right.
So that you have that in your mind when they circle back to how things are percolating inside Silo 18. You're like, oh, like this is what they're trying to do.
Yeah. And the importance of what she's done.
Yeah, somebody actually walking over the hill. Yeah.
Yeah, and how it affects the perceptions of the people who are left behind. Because the thing is that they're like, is she alive? Is she dead? Right? And that's the big question. Everybody that's gone out to clean has died, right?
Yep.
And she's the first one that didn't die and ends up going further than most, right? So, and that sort of, again, it's very similar to how the current state of affairs in the world right now, how people perceive things. They see meaning in things that don't have mening, right? Or they read meaning into things that really didn't. Why did such and such politician do such and such a thing? Well, sometimes they just did it because they're a person just making a decision, and that seems to be the best idea at the time. But how people interpret that. Oh, well, he means this and he means that, and like kind of reading into, and I'm not just talking about American politics, I'm talking about around the world, right? How, your religion, you can't have the same God that I have, and so on and so forth. All those kind of misconceptions that happen when people try to interpret other people's actions that they're just observing, right?
Well, it's how perception affects reality, right? If you perceive things through a certain lens, you're going to see things a certain way. I think you're right. I think that's very true both on this show and in reality right now. This is certainly a case for the fact that, stuff that I'm reading, I read a lot of the media, but maybe I'm reading the wrong media because they're portraying a very different world than the one I think we're living in. So.
Well, there's also the whole, like right now we're in the middle of a Canada Post strike where the mail letter carriers and package deliverers are on strike, and it turns out, they're on strike, but yet the beginning of their strike was they got locked out by management. So there's sort of like who's to blame. So there's always got to be somebody to blame, even though both sides are just trying to do maybe the right thing. I don't know, right? But it's like if I've worked in a union shop where you're as the union looking at management thinking one way, and then I worked in that same company in management looking, and trying to deal with how the union perceives them, right? So this is what I mean. It's kind of like that, like you've got Tim Robbins as the mayor, and the other lady, she's the
judge. Yeah,
the judge. Yeah, she's the head magistrate or whatever.
Yep. Judicial. Yeah. Judicial.
Thank you. Yeah, and then you've got the Common, I think his name is. Yep. The rapper Common.
Yep.
He's like the head of the secret police kind of thing, right? Or the police, whatever, right?
Yep.
So those three are kind of doing things to try and manage the people below them, and then the people below them are kind of seeing what they, I'm doing they in air quotes because they always do this kind of stuff to make us feel this way or think that way or whatever. And then you get this whole sort of thing spiraling out of control. And that's what's good about this show. Spiral, see? Silo. It's got a spiral. But things spiral out of control for different reasons. In fact, there's a plot line in the second episode where, it starts out one way and then you've got this revolution happening, but then it turns out that more people are in on the revolution than you think are in on the revolution. And then there's at one point there's like a mob scene and, weapons are drawn and, and then, there's casualties, right? And some of the casualties were placed there by some forces and some of them were in the wrong place at the wrong time, right? So,
yeah. Yeah, they're doing a good job of really building the tension because you're feeling the tension. Obviously Juliet's tension is the tension of survival, but then inside inside Silo 18, you're getting that continuing. Is there going to be a revolution? Is there going to be mass arrests? Is there going to be somebody else going to be put out? So you feel it from a lot of ways. But again, they've done a good job of making you invest in the characters. They're done a good job of grounding this world so that you feel very uneasy as it's going forward. And, that's, again, good writing, good filmmaking. It's turning out, it's all paying off.
Yeah. And it's all because she walked over the hill.
And all because she walked over a hill. Yeah, it's, again, I'm enjoying what I'm seeing so far. It is, I'm curious for the two of you, particularly Tim, after you've seen 3, but do you feel like it's sort of going at a good pace? I mean, I felt like last season was sort of really built around the sort of the murder mystery. Did somebody kill Juliet's boyfriend? And why did the sheriff go out? What's hidden on the hard drive. There isn't kind of the MacGuffin kind of thing that's going on this season like there was last season. Do you find it's moving you forward in the same way? Do you find like you're investing in the same way, or do you feel like it's slow? Or
I mean, for me, like I've loved this. I mean, I wouldn't say I loved it from the very beginning, but it really grew on me the first iteration of this because these dystopian, futuristic, world's gone to the hell in a handbasket kind of plot stories. I've got interesting things to say about that too, but we'll come back to that, please. But yeah, in fact, I'd forgotten that I'd seen 3 episodes. That's how deep this show is, right? If you said 3, I went, what? I had to go back and look. Yeah, there's actually been 3 episodes because we just had Silo, right? The solo, the last one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, they've done such a good job of like the first season was this whole mystery of what is outside. What are they are they projecting something onto the cafeteria wall that people are supposed to see? And the idea is that the person wants to go outside and clean the cameras, right? Which is what the whole going outside to clean is about, right? And they the whole sort of like Juliet getting put into the position of being the sheriff, and then why her, and kind of thing. And that as she grew through the story, and then how it ended, with her getting put in a suit and sent out to clean, right? At the end of it, and then she manages to walk up over the hill, and then you have to wait for this season. So yeah, they really had me like sort of building that anticipation, because all along you don't know. I mean, you know why they're in the silo. They're in the silo because obviously there was some sort of futuristic war, and these are the survivors, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the question is, are they the only survivors? Because these silos are the old missile silos, right? Although this silo is huge, right?
Yeah, maybe stay tuned on what these silos are.
Okay, yeah. But anyway, so yeah, I mean, they have, it grew on me. There's enough. They don't reveal enough in the telling of the story that you don't feel compelled to sit and fill in those empty questions. Those question areas they have.
Yeah. How about you, Jaime? What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's been going okay. It seems like it's building to something a little different. As mentioned, the first one was more like the mystery of the silos and what's outside and everything. And now we've seen outside, and it's kind of, at least for the people who remain in the current silo that we were in, that we started in season 1, it's more of a political story at the moment, especially where the mayor has to tell the truth by telling another lie that makes sense with, we developed some new tape, and that's why she made it that far. Is she alive? No, she can't possibly be, because she would have run out of air. So hopefully someday we'll have more technology that'll help us. Don't worry. And he even said, I can't tell the people they didn't see a thing that they freaking saw. So I might as well own it by saying, well, yes, you absolutely saw that, but this is the first time with new tape, and then our suits are a little bit better.
Yeah. It's an interesting work, because it's not just one thing, right? It is a murder mystery. It is a political thriller. It is, dystopian. It is it's kind of got all these beats that you can kind of come at it from different ways, right? Yeah. Well, anyway you slice it, it's good. And, 3 episodes down, 7 to go.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think what we're missing here too is that, and last week when we talked about, we only had the one episode to talk about, right?
Mm.
On last week's episode. So we had 2 drop in so we had the one come out on what days does this come out on? Friday, right?
Yeah, it comes out Friday.
Yeah, and because of the Thanksgiving holiday in the States, they dropped one on Tuesday, which is the one that Jaime hasn't watched. So Jaime's watched 2, Jonathan and I've watched 3 of season 2. Yep. For those of you transporting at home. And now we have to wait till December 6th for the next episode.
Madness.
I know, which means we're not going to get a fix tomorrow.
Boo.
I know.
Was it one of the shows we watched a few years ago did that? They put out a show, they won early, but then they kept the regular schedule. I can't remember which show it was.
Yeah.
More of that.
All right. Well, let's move on to our watch list. And I guess I could go first.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a follow-up piece, actually. It's a video that's on the YouTube. It's from the Roddenberry archive again, and it's called The Cage. And it actually is about the making of the Roddenberry archive. And it's got the designer team, the Okudas, I think they are. What's their name? Yeah. They're in it. They talk a bit about Roddenberry and stuff like that. They talk about the actress who played the yeoman, reprising her role for that first short track. Still going to call them short tracks that they put into the archive. So this YouTube I'm talking about here, and I've got a link in the show notes for it. It was made to explain the archive before the last Shatner drop that we got last week that we were talking about. That's cool, yeah. And then the other one I've got here is what did I say I wanted to come back to? Remember I said about circle back on something, right? Oh yeah. This is coming. I just go back to the silo for a second. Think about this. Is that so? Jeffrey Pargan, the guy I follow from on the Instagram, he raised I saw an interesting piece by him the other day talking about all this dystopian futuristic. There's no more internet, there's no more phones, there's no more Apple Pay. Because the whole world's called hell in the handbasket, right? We've only been living with these things for about 100 years or so, or even less, right? The way people lived before, like up until the last 70 years, let's say, was like these dystopian movies. You had to make your own water, you had to grow your own food, you had no energy, you had to survive with electricity or telephones and buses and stuff like that. So like we write these stories as if this is, oh my God, how are we going to survive? Like we've been doing for the last 50,000 years.
Yeah,
that's how we're going to survive.
So the trick is not, I know how to run a electrical grid. It's, hey, I know how to build a water wheel.
Build a water wheel and make a transporter, and yeah, exactly, and power up Data's head, exactly.
All right, so what are your skills? What do you bring into the table in the new world?
Well, it's funny, you laugh about that because Tammy and I used to always do. Tammy does a podcast. And she's always going on about the apocalypse, and she would always ask people, "What do you bring into the apocalypse army?" And
I remember that.
Are you bait, or are you going to be part of the army? Right?
Yeah, she didn't think that my journalism skills were going to come in very handy, as I recall.
Well, I'm going to make an app when the apocalypse comes, right?
Yeah.
And I'm going to run it on my Vision Pro, which I'll be using 2 coconuts and a handmade generator power, right?
Well, I can say, thankfully, having had you in my life for most of it, you've helped me become decently handy. So I feel like I could at least contribute in the new world.
Well, I mean, yeah, and we have a direct relative who grows her own food, and is one windmill away from making her own electricity, right? So,
and to be fair, she is also a bit of a survivalist herself. She's got a plan.
That's true.
All right, Jaime, what's yours? What do you got? What are you bringing?
It kind of depends. So going along Tim's mention of the Roundabout FM podcast, it was specifically in the immediate post-apocalyptic zombie apocalypse.
Yeah.
And I'd mentioned that although I cannot maintain firearms because I don't know anything about that, I'm actually a pretty good shot. So if you could have
you're good at duck hunt, is what you're saying?
Yeah, so it's kind of like being like a knight and then having like a squire that takes care of the horse and polishing the weapons and everything, and it's like, oh, you need me to shoot some zombies? Great, I'll do that really good. I'm not going to waste any shots.
There you go. Oh, that's
a good shot. Not a firearms owner or enthusiast, so I don't know anything about taking it apart, cleansing it, and maintaining. But if you got it ready, lock and load. Like I'm your dude in the post-apocalyptic zombie era.
Nice.
So if there's firearms, that's like the main thing.
Character, right? Yeah.
And being that you live in America, there will be guns.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, there are guns in Canada. There's more guns. There are more guns per capita in Canada than there are in the United States. We just have to have we just are a little less, open carry about it, right?
Yeah, and we also, like the restrictions on handguns are very tight here.
Yeah, for sure. That said, as 2 days ago, somebody was running up and down the highway shooting people, right?
Yeah, I know.
Shooting at people, I should say.
It's
anyway,
scary.
So coming back to my watch list items, so I happen to be keeping an eye on the 3D movies that are coming to Vision Pro. I think I mentioned last week that Transformer 1 movie is now available in 3D on the Apple TV, so you can watch it on your Vision Pro. But I've been keeping my eye on a few movies, and turns out that last week, Ready Player One was available for $4.99 Canadian, which is what, a couple of cups of coffee in the States. But so I picked it up and I watched it, and I got to tell you, that is an amazing movie on Vision Pro.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's really, really good. And
freaking Steven Spielberg. It can't
I know. Yeah,
a little bit picked on, but I thought it's actually pretty good.
But no, I'm saying it is like a 5-star movie still to me, right? Like I mean, they played around with the plot line from the original Klein book, right? Because she goes into the sixes instead of him in the story, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was very compelling and blows up real good. It looks super cool. I mean, like the whole what did they call it? The what's their Matrix called?
The Oasis.
The Oasis, yeah. The Oasis looks cool. I mean, like, and sort of all of the Easter eggs and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, no, it's a really, really good experience on Vision Pro to watch, especially since, you're watching it on a 3D headset, right? The only thing's missing is the haptic suit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, highly recommend watching Vision or Ready Player One on Vision Pro, and if it's still on sale, I'd say grab it if you don't own it already.
Yeah, they had a good sale this week. I don't know if it was the Black Friday thing, but I picked up a few different movies and shows that I was. They hit the right price point. There's some things where you're just like, I will never budge off of. Like $5 is the lowest they sell things in Canadian dollars.
Yeah.
And there's some things I'm like, if it goes to $5, I will buy that. And,
well, that's what I mean. Yeah. Like I've been keeping an eye on this list of 3D movies, and because just to watch them on Vision Pro is really cool, right? So
yeah.
So carry on. What's your watch list?
I had a few things this week. I put in a link to this great reel that is going around social media. It made me laugh so hard because we talk about Trek tropes all the time on this pod, and we love them, even though they are very tropey. This one is a collection of every time on TNG somebody says it's some kind of blank. Yeah. And so there's like 70 examples from this series of somebody going, it's some kind of this, it's some kind of that, and you don't realize until they start doing it, you're like, oh my God, they said that phrase so much. Mm-hmm. And it just, I highly recommend. It takes, they did the whole thing in like a minute and a half, but it is super, super funny when you start just going through scene by scene by scene of all these different, Star Trek characters going, well, it's some kind of this. Oh no, it's some kind of that. It's some kind of this. Yeah, it's super fun.
That's funny.
Sorry.
No, it's funny. I'd forgotten I was going to try and work some kind of into the show.
Yeah, it's some kind of
great movie to watch on Vision Pro.
Absolutely. I've been catching up on South Park. It's something that I had been putting off. I had been behind on a few of those specials that they had put out, as well as I haven't watched the most recent season. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to sit down and watch a little bit of that. So I finally made it to the South Park series, The Streaming Wars. They did 2 of those sort of 50-minute specials that when you glue them together are sort of movie length. Jaime, have you seen this one already? The Streaming Wars?
I have. Yeah. Did you enjoy these action-packed larger episodes? They call them events, but they're not really events.
Yeah, I mean, I think they are. It's, they used to do this on older seasons of South Park where they would do like a 3-episode arc or a 4-episode arc that was all sort of tied together. They did the one where they go into like, Magic Land or I can't remember what it's called, where they, all the fictional characters come to life and stuff. Imagination Land, that's what it was called. So it doesn't feel too different from those things, but the Streaming Wars was just, they are, particularly, Trey Parker, just, they are such smart writers on that show. And that whole thing, the allegory of, actually fighting over water rights in Colorado versus the quality of streaming services. Just the way that they're like, oh, if you're creating stuff for this streaming service and you're creating stuff for this streaming service, it's all just crap. And it was so smart and funny, the way that they were just taking the piss out of like literally Paramount Plus while being on Paramount Plus made me laugh so hard. So if you're looking for a jump on point on recent South Park, that killed me, because we talk about streaming and the streaming wars on this pod all the time, and they were just lacing into the glut of streaming services, and but they're using it as the metaphor of actual streams under the ground and how everybody's got one and it's becoming a huge problem and they're all just cannibalizing each other. And it's all, of course, reflective of what's going on with real streaming services. It just made me laugh so hard. I highly recommend. If you got, an hour and a half and you want to laugh, it's totally there.
Cool.
And last but not least, I just wanted to call attention to the fact that next week, while we do have to wait a few more extra days to come all the way back around to Silo, we are getting one day early now. Skeleton Crew is dropping. So Star Wars Skeleton Crew drops on Disney Plus on December 3rd. They are doing a 2-episode drop to start. So Jaime, your mileage may vary on that one, but
suspicious.
yeah. Like what aren't they doing in episode 1?
Or do they lack access to a calendar and they said, oh, crap, it's going to end of the Super Bowl. We can't have it end of the Super Bowl. Do something different.
Yeah, it's good to see that it's finally coming. This is a series that's been much sort of hyped that, it's Jude Law in Star Wars. That's a big get. Oh, it's, going to be like the Goonies. It's going to be kind of fun and young with kids. And so I'm curious. I'm curious to see how this lands. I'm curious to see sort of where it fits into the Star Wars stuff. Again, the most recent Star Wars project was Acolyte. Your mileage may vary on that one. I thought it had some tremendous moments, but it certainly didn't feel like it was a home run, and so much so that they've already announced they aren't going to do any more of it. I'm curious to see if this is something that sort of gets people back on board with Disney Plus Star Wars stuff. So tune in next week. I think we'll probably be chatting about that one because we do love our Star Warsy stuff here.
Mm-hmm.
Over to you, Jaime.
Yeah, so since people have been thinking of Skeleton Crew as being Goonies but Star Wars, I thought it might be appropriate to put this short little video from YouTube from a man-carrying thing entitled The Traumatic Scene in Every 80s Family Movie. And we should earn a prize of some sort if this actually happens, but in every sort of 80s movie where there was some, he says it out so fast I don't even know the entire list. It's like alien, animal, monster, whatever thing that's helping the family, before the government or the police or the scientists or whoever it is comes, they have to like try to convince them to leave, but it doesn't understand them correctly. It doesn't like speak English, so they have to like abuse it verbally and like, usually throw things at it so it like feels sad and runs away. But don't worry, it's going to come back in the third act to like save them somehow. Like it was a definite trope in the 80s.
My mind immediately goes to Harry and the Hendersons.
Oh, yep, that was the one. And he's even like got a background of a forest, which is where I think it happens in that one, where they drive him out there.
Yeah, no, it's true. Again, I love it when people sort of take the time to highlight these sort of through lines through all these things. But that's great. It's great. I'm gonna check this out.
And just so a correction here for Ready Player One, it was actually $6.99 on iTunes, but still a steal at that.
I'm not spending that money, $2 extra. What kind of savage?
No way. You probably already own it anyway.
I might have it on 4K Blu-ray actually.
Well, that's what I'm saying. But if you own a digital copy, then you get the 3D versions automatically, like you do the 4K versions, right?
And someday, when I get a Vision Pro,
all watches will be made the same. But on that note, I guess that's it for another week. And so, Jonathan, people get in touch with you. Where would they find you?
Oh, you can find me on Instagram as @JPK News, or you can find me on YouTube at youtube.com/@JPK.
Right. And Jaime, if people want to get in touch with you,
I'm on Twitter as @DevWithAHair.
Hanging on with both hands.
Yeah, I think I've described being, Captain Jack Sparrow just riding the ship all the way to the bottom and walking off into the dock.
Off the dock, yeah, as it ends. Yeah. So, my name is Timitra, TIMMITRA on the socials. I'm on the Threads. I'm on the Blue Sky. I'm on the Instagram. And just to follow up on, since last week's show, I have 1,800 followers 1,800 followers on the Blue Sky, and I'm following 1,000 people. So that's like within, that's doubled in a week. Yeah, so it's still going. It's not quite as crazy as it was, but it's still pretty high up. And of course, now the Black Friday sales are all happening. Everybody's advertising on Blue Sky as well, so that's helping the numbers as well. But like that, until next time, I'll see you in the future. Bye.
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 You've been listening to the Spotcast Podcast. If you want to find out more about the podcast or see the episode show notes, visit the Spotcast website at spotcast.com. If you have feedback or questions, you can get in touch with us on the website. If you like the show, please consider recommending us to a friend, writing a review on iTunes, or pledging any amount at patreon.com/Spotcast. You can find details on how to help us on our website, spotcast.com/sponsor us. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the future.
Scrolling through the iTunes store to see if I can see any other sales here of something I might want to pick up.
Yeah, they've got something that, like, if you go to the site, they've got the movie and TV extravaganza going on right now. That's literally how they labeled it.
TV app?
Yep. So like Dead Reckoning, and like they've got a bundle that has all the Mission Impossible movies for like $5 a movie. They've got, like, not that I care, but they're also full of crap a little bit here too, because if you go to that, it says the new Hunger Games movie and Borderlands. It's got them listed as $4 on the main page. When you go in to buy them, they're $10.
Yeah,
because they must have been like a one-day sale or something, but they haven't changed it. Because I was actually tempted because I saw that Borderlands was $5, and I was like, I should buy that, and I should give that as a gift to our audience that I will watch the terribleness that is that Borderlands movie and do a review of it. But I'm not paying $10 for that. There's just no way.
No. So, well, wait till it be a 99-cent rental and then do it then.
Yeah, maybe then.
Or maybe they can donate money on Patreon for you to watch it.
There you go. If you really want me to suffer through the Borderlands movie, feel free to make a donation.
Vote with your dollars, as Jaime would say.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But they've got some decent stuff. Like they just put out the full season sets of Picard and Discovery. Picard's only $13 Canadian for the full series. All three seasons.
They have the complete original TV series Mission Impossible for $40.
There you go.
That's what I was just talking about.
Yeah. So there's been a bunch of like some decent. I mean, your mileage may vary on the quality of the movies, but like for $5 Canadian, the new Dungeons and Dragons movie, the new Transformers movie.
Yeah, that's in 3D for if you get that copy, right?
Yeah.
And the Transformer Rise of the
Beasts. They've got
that one's 3D. Yeah.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Mutant Mayhem, which I really dug, is on there for $5. You can get Titanic. Is that a 3D movie, Tim? Titanic?
No.
Team America, I highly recommend for $5 because it is hilarious. Especially if you can get the unrated one because it's just so wildly over the top. It's hilarious.
Tropic Thunder, that's a must-have too.
I've never seen that.
No?
I mean,
you got to watch it just for Robert Downey Jr.
I've heard that he does blackface. How did he get away with doing blackface, by the way?
Well, it's like what the Kids in the Hall guy said the other day. It was the 80s. It wasn't a thing.
It was okay then. Yeah. But like all the Godfather movies are on sale. Like it's lots of good stuff. So yeah.
There's I'm seeing three Transformer movies.
All the Trek's on sale for $5 too.
Yeah, is it? Okay.
All the Trek movies, including all the Kelvinverse stuff.
Oh look, my favorite movie, Event Horizon. Sorry, my favorite half movie, Event Horizon.
Yeah.
I already own all the Star Trek movies though.
Even all the Kelvin ones too?
Yeah.
Yes.
Some good stuff in here.
Yeah, like there's all, some of the same crap all of it.
There's a Sonic the Hedgehog 2. That might be in 3D actually. I haven't seen that one yet.
Yeah. Are the
$4.99
Possible ones 3D? I must admit I know nothing about them, so.
The one before this last one's called Dead Reckoning, right? The one before is, but not this one. Yeah, which is weird. It's like I said, I don't know why some like Terminator Dark Fate is in 3D, but not the one that we saw with Mackenzie Davis in it, right? The most recent one.
Yeah.
So the last one with Dark Fate. So Dark Fate is the last one. The one before that, the one with Khaleesi in it.
Oh, you know what's on sale that it is 3D is they've got all the Lord of the Rings and Hobbits movies are in there. I know the Hobbit ones were 3D
for $4.99.
Let's see, it's you get the set of the three. You can get the theatrical or the extended editions of Hobbit for it's $18, so it's $6 a movie.
So to answer your question about that, let me just go to my website. So the not the extended cuts, the regular cuts are in 3D.
Oh, okay.
As far as I know. Let me just check. I'm just going to my blog post here.
They're both on there, and they're both on sale, as are all the other Lord of the Rings movies. And
like I said, on my website, there's a blog post here, which I keep updating.
They have a Ghostbusters for the 2 new Ghostbusters movies too. I don't know if those are 3D, but
yeah. So
I'm sure we're the crap out of you, Jaime. Sorry about this.
Huh?
Yeah, no worries.
Like, well, I don't care about what's happening on Canadian iTunes store.
Okay, The Hobbit, Terminator Genesis is the one I was thinking about, but right. The 3 Hobbit movies are in 3D on my list. I don't know about Lord of the Rings. Where would they be? No, I don't see Lord of the Rings on here.
I don't think they are, yeah.
No, I mean, they're not in this. They're not on my list of movies that I've already gone through. And Smurfs: The Lost Village is in 3D available.
Oh, well, please.
If you're wondering about that
sign me
one.
up, yes.
Or Skyscraper, or Sing and Sing 2. Like like I said, it makes no sense.
Mm-hmm.
You know what some of these things are.
There's a 10 movie Fast and the Furious box set, all 10 movies for $50. So yeah, $5 a movie.
Okay, so Transformer 1, Transformer Ages of Extinction, Dark of the Moon, Rise of the Beast. They're all in the $4.99 Canadian category, and all 4 of those are in 3D.
There you go.
Oh, Catch 22 is a good movie. Yeah, the Mission Impossibles. Let me see. Mission Impossible would be under M. Mission Impossible. They have just the Fallout one. Yeah, it's the only one.
They have the Jumanji ones in here too, but they I don't remember remember the CGI not being too hot in that one, so I don't know how great that would look in 3D.
Jumanji? Is that the one with Robin?
It's the one,
the new Jumanjis.
The new Jumanjis, the ones with the
new Jumanjis, I believe they are. Yeah, both of them. Welcome to the Jungle and Next Level. They're both available in 3D for Vision Pro.
Well, yeah. So that's a 2 movie pack for $13.
Yeah, that's not bad. I mean, they're good movies, but I don't know if I want to own them.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on how much you want to expand your 3D.
Oh, Madam Web's available.
Oh, lordy. Did you guys ever watch that? Did you guys make the time, or did you just let me suffer alone in that one?
Yeah, you're on your own on that one.
Jaime, did you watch that one?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Eventually, Jaime's going to have to do the dishes or laundry or something, so I might watch it.
You know, it's kind of funny that my significant other was scrolling around Paramount Plus, I want to say, and I said, "Wait a minute, is there a Paw Patrol cinematic universe?" And she's like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "I told her, look, I'm straight up gonna bring this up on the podcast because there is a construction worker dog as one of the like 5 or 6 dogs that they have in Paw Patrol, and I saw a show title that she went over the thumbnail. I said, "Wait a minute, does that say Working Crew?" And it's a completely different set of dogs with him as the lead. It's like watching the Avengers and then watching like Iron Man or Spider-Man kind of thing.
So that's cool. That's all right.
I'm like, maybe I need to throw that in the background. I think it's a TV series or a movie. I'm not sure. It was a little hard to tell from the title. So,
all right. Well, we look forward to your review of that one.
I know it's got to go in the queue now, right? Instead of other stuff. Priorities.
Yeah, I must admit I do keep a little scan out just to see if there are awful movies that will fit the bill that I can add to the list here for myself to subject myself to for the benefit of our fandom. I thought, given how badly it tanked, I thought for sure that we would get Borderlands on a streaming service pretty quickly, just because it just didn't do anything in the theaters. I thought we would see it by now.
Give it a minute.
Yeah, maybe.
It'll be out next week.
Yeah, I suspect we'll see, because it is getting into Christmassy time, and this time of year we start to see more and more of these things start to creep in, right?
Yeah,
show up on the streaming services because they're like, "Yeah, you're not doing anything."
Is $7.99 a good price for you? $9.99. Ooh. Oh yeah, that's the $10 one you were talking about, right?
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I don't. I have a tough time if it's something that I know that I'm going to watch multiple times. I'm like, okay, $5 seems like a decent amount to spend on something that you're going to have theoretically for a while. Although, my son and I are both, advocates for if you really like it, buy the DVD. But I don't know. $10 for a digital movie still seems pretty steep to me.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, because you're probably going to watch. Oh, Tomb Raider is $9.99. The Candor one, right? That one's available in 3D on The Vision Pro. Yeah. They have the technology now to convert any image into 3D. So I don't know why they can't make these movies into 3D. Somebody hasn't figured out how to do that yet.
A lack of will.
I guess. Good movies in the $10 bucket. But it's funny that we'll pay, $13, $14, $20 to go see a movie in the theater, but we won't pay to watch it on home.
Yeah, again, to me, it just it just depends on how immediately you want to see something. Because
so I gotta say that in this, I think it's the $6.99 pile is Denis Villeneuve's Blade Runner 2049. That is a beautiful movie
which I own, and I paid $5 for it because they had it on sale at one point. So
yeah,
I find so many of these things. The crappy thing is when they migrated over from the iTunes store to the Apple TV store.
Yeah,
you used to be able to have a wish list where you could basically just stack stuff up, and then I used to just go on because everything goes on sale on Tuesdays usually. I would just go on Tuesdays and see if any of the prices of the things that I was interested in had dropped. But since they moved over to the new way of doing things, you can't do that. So you actually have to manually go through and have a look, which is
like an animal,
bit of a chore. So yeah, frustrating.
Yeah. They got some good sets here, but I guess the question's about the pricing, right? So like they got a Hitchcock set here. What's that? What's in that one? There's quite a few movies in that, but it's still $60, right? So Family Plot, that was a good movie. Oh, all 5 Bourne movies.
It's actually not bad. I like 3 of those movies.
Yeah.
The other ones have their moments.
Yeah, the Hobbit trilogy. So if I was to buy that, $17.
Yeah, I mean, it's $6 a movie plus tax. That's not too bad.
Yeah. But it's funny that,
you just have to watch that incredibly drawn out, unnecessarily overstuffed version of The Hobbit.
I was going to say, it's a 400-page pulp novel that they've turned into 3.
It's not even 400 pages. This is 250 pages.
Yeah, I know. It's I read it in a day, pretty much.
Yeah, right? I read it when I was 11.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, not exactly...
So this is a good combo, right? Award-winning thrillers: Silence of the Lambs, Misery, Fargo, and The Usual Suspects.
That's pretty good. Thrillers.
That's a good pack.
Yeah.
Ooh, the 2-movie Sonic the Hedgehog collection.
I haven't made time for this. I haven't watched the new Mario movie either. I feel like I'm behind on.
I haven't watched that one yet.
Yeah, and I want to. It's just we keep talking about watching it as a family, and then
the Mario movie. Yeah, it's a good movie.
Yeah, it looks like fun. Again, it's a little bit weird that Martinette's still alive and somehow they cast Chris Pratt. But other than that, I'm into it. I just we keep talking about we should watch it as a family, and then we just don't. And I'm like, all right, I'll watch it then.
You can Get Shorty and Be Cool are in a box set.
I like to Get Shorty.
Look at me.
Be Cool never really did anything for me, but Get Shorty's a fun movie.
Yeah, it's good. It's well written. Who wrote it again?
That's a good question. I don't remember.
There are $3 rentals. Let's see if Borderlands is $3 rentals. I'll donate $1 to that one.
I love the willingness to subject me to these B movies.
I'll probably watch it when it comes out, just for the sake of watching it. Right?
Oh, I'm 100%. I am so curious to know why something that has that much star power is that terrible. I'm very
it's like I said last week. The Romulus, Alien Romulus, people apparently it tanked in the box office, but I thought it was actually pretty good. And it's in the same way that Force Awakens is a remake of A New Hope.
Yeah,
it's similar to that. I mean, but it's from a different perspective, right? So, there is the get away from her, line in that movie, right? And it's not used in the same it's used in a similar context, but it's such a good line, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Not seeing any rentals. Usually, I thought 99-cent rentals are the ones I usually will go for.
Yeah, I mean they usually have a section of those, right?
Yeah. Legend of Korra. I have no idea what that is. Chico and the Man.
Legend of Korra is the Avatar: The Last Airbender sequel TV series.
Oh, is it? The Weekly Spotlight. $2.99. Oh, rental for... Cool. All right. Well, what's this? Galaxy... I don't know what the hell that is. It looks like Galaxy Quest, but it's not. Oh, it's French.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys have ever played that game. I have enjoyed myself so much sometimes when
Which
you go through the $5 movie section and you just keep scrolling and you get past anything you've ever heard of into this really unusual place of movie making.
Yeah,
it's super fun. It's super.
So are they in these categories in order of popularity? Like that's how it seems to be, right?
It does seem so, but then it also seems inconsistent that way. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So are these listed on? Do you still go to the Blu-ray.com site and check out the sales?
Yep. Yeah, they're not quite as quick as they used to be as far as listing stuff, but they still do it. So like right up till today's stuff, they've got stuff on there for. And they have, I should mention that, Jaime, they have that as well. If you ever go to Blu-ray.com, they have a section in there.
I went to Blue Cams by mistake. Don't do that.
They have a really good section in there that basically highlights all the physical media and digital media that's on sale. And you can set it by country.
How do you spell Blu-ray? It keeps taking me to Blue Cam.
BLU-ARAY.com.
Oh, yeah, that's why. It must have.
But it's really nice because you can actually set it by country, so you can actually see what's for sale in your region and make sure you're not, obviously, your beloved homeland is well represented. Sometimes it's nice to have ours represented in there.
It's not blue-ray.com.
Oh, what is it? Oh, I don't
know.
I've got it here. Hang on. Yeah, I got it right here.
Blu-ray. I keep going to Blu-ray.com, but it keeps taking me to the bad site.
It's BLU-RAY.com. I'm looking at it right now.
BLU.
Apocalypse Now Final Cut is $5 as of this afternoon.
Yeah, I'm at Blu-ray.com and I'm blue hyphen with a hyphen, right?
It's HTTPS www.blu-ray-BLU -RAY.
Oh, BLU, not BL. I thought like the word blue.
No, Blu-rays don't have the E in them.
Oh, that's probably why.
And then you go to newest deals, and then iTunes HD, and
Toronto and Canada,
but yeah, they actually have it broken down by like at least like over a dozen countries. You can check out what's going on.
But is there a wish list here too?
I don't know. Good question.
Canada, because I was trouble getting over to Canada. Okay, then you go to iTunes, right?
Yep.
And it just shows you pages and pages of sales.
Yep. Cool. And you can also go on there to like if you go to deals, you can also do like Amazon deals, and there's a whole bunch of retailers here that seem to be American only, but Amazon, really? Voodoo, Walmart. And you can see everything that's on sale. As I say, they sometimes can be a little bit behind just because I think this is somebody's part-time job, not full-time job. But it's really kind of cool because you can actually, and even beyond that, you can filter. Once you get into iTunes HD, you can filter by 3D, you can filter by price, you can filter by all these different like metrics. You can filter by TV shows. So there's lots of stuff to help you figure out what's actually a good deal. And they actually flag in there like whether this is the lowest price it's ever been listed at, or if it's they'll say new lowest price or lowest price ever or whatever. So you can actually see.
They put a red highlight it below it.
Yeah. So you can actually see whether something is a regular price that they're saying is a good deal or is actually a good deal.
Right. Cool.
And this has been We Don't Work for Apple, brought to you by Spotcast.
Yeah. Not sponsored by Apple. All right, guys.
All right. Well, good luck with your thing tomorrow.
Yeah.
And we'll check back in next week.
Okay. Bye.
Right.
Later. Bye.
Yeah.
It's Ryan Seacrest here. People always say it's good to unwind, but that's easier said than done. The exception, Chumba Casino. They actually make it easier done than said, or at least the same. Chumba Casino is an online social casino with hundreds of casino-style games like slots and blackjack. Play for fun. Play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. Sign up now and collect your free welcome bonus at ChumbaCasino.com. Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply.